Hello, this is Monica Sawyer. Welcome to Real Estate Investing for Women, where we focus on all aspects of real estate investing, including strategies, mindset, emotional mastery, money smarts, and so much more to ensure your success. If you'd like to learn my personal favorite investing strategy, just go to blissfulinvestor.com. You can also listen to this episode on the Real Estate Investing for Women podcast on iTunes. Now, let's welcome our guest. Today, I am so excited to welcome to the show our guest, Gary Boomershine. Gary founded realestateinvestor.com in 2005 out of the need to scale and grow his own real estate investing and home buying business. With a family legacy in the real estate niche and a long successful career in enterprise and emerging technology markets, Gary saw the vision for realestateinvestor.com. He noticed the glaring opportunity to leverage people, processes, and technology to gain a leg up in the changing and competitive marketplace. As he worked to develop and use the initial product and service, he saw his real estate business flourish by allowing him to work smarter, not harder, and focusing on the one thing that makes money, talking to sellers and making offers. That's when realestateinvestor.com began offering its flagship product, REIvault, to the savvy investor market. Hey there, Gary. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Yes, it's such a pleasure being here. I know we've been talking about pulling this together for quite some time. So I am so pleased to be here and also share some really good content and information to your loyal group of followers.
Yeah, thank you. And I've watched some of your stuff. It's just amazing. And I think my ladies are just going to absolutely love this. So let's just start by telling us your story. How did you get started?
Yeah, so gosh, I've been around a long, long time in this niche. I grew up in a family of real estate entrepreneurs. My parents had a real estate brokerage. So I was a licensed agent turning 18, I think 2 weeks after turning 18. So I'm going to age myself. I just turned 50. So I was a licensed agent in 1987, paid for college that way, holding open houses and door knocking and cold calling and even coming home on the rental properties with a paintbrush. But I went down the technology path. I live in California. I'm right here in Silicon Valley, about 45 minutes from San Francisco. And so I got a computer engineering degree and went down that path. And it was great, except it was 90-hour weeks and traveling all over the world, but never seeing the sunshine because I was inside of buildings, and learned a lot. But it was in 2004, after doing 4 technology startups on the sales side and running a sales team, that my wife and I said, you know what, let's get back to brick and mortar. And so we started real estate investing, and that was in 2004. And boy, it's been an incredible, incredible journey. You know what I love about real estate is, first off, it's cyclical. So you want to be constantly changing and evolving because what works today is different than what worked a few years ago. And I like that change. Number 2 is product. Our product is everywhere, right? I was actually speaking at an event in San Diego, and I said, look outside, look at all these buildings and look at San Diego. This is our product, right? It's not like we have to go manufacture something like garments or widgets. It's like, it's right there in front of us.
Well, not only is it right there in front of us, everybody needs it.
Absolutely.
You know, it's a product that will never go away.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. For sure. So I started that. I bought, I don't even know the number. I know it's 600 or 700 properties. I do, even today, I'm working in 4 markets. I do a lot of lending, private lending as well. It's probably what I'm most passionate about, being the bank. And then I started a company called realestateinvestor.com, and we're the largest marketer for real estate investors and agents. I think I shared this with you. Our numbers, 36 million pieces of direct mail is what we have sent out for a small group of real estate investors. There's about 250 investors and agents that we service as a company, where we manage all their direct mail better than they could do it on their own. We provide the systems to do all the follow-up, and then the phone team to actually call, screen, qualify, and schedule appointments. And so we've been doing that for many years, and it's a lot of fun. So
Wow. Wow. That's a lot. What have you learned? Like, what has the market taught you?
you know, so especially for the people that are fairly new, um, this has been an incredible market. What it's done for me. I was actually at an event in Tampa, and one of the gentlemen got sick, and he'd been sick. He ended up getting MRSA. Pretty well-known guy, actually. His name is Rob Swanson, and he was sharing how he got MRSA at a dental office, and he was literally sick for 4 years.
Whoa.
4 years, he literally couldn't get out of bed. And he said, you know what saved my life and saved my family financially was his rental properties. It was the cash flow. And one of the things I've learned in real estate is really there's 3 buckets in real estate. And I think a lot of people forget this. There's cash now, there's cash flow, and then there's cash later. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people get stuck focusing on one or another. And a lot of people, like in this market, are just doing wholesaling. That's a very much of a cash now business. It's transactional, which means it's a job, right? If you stop,
If you don't work, you don't make money.
if you don't work, you don't make money. And so I think it's really important to be thinking of doing all 3. And even today, when I'm purchasing property, I'm always looking: is this a property I'm going to do cash now, or am I going to turn this into a rental property, or possibly down the road into appreciation? And so that's a big one. I think a lot of people, they get a little bit misguided just focusing and getting stuck on that cash now.
Mm-hmm.
That would be number 1. Number 2 is this market is changing. We're kind of in a euphoric stage of real estate now. Real estate for over 100 years, by the way, Monica, you know this as well, but it's been a 7-year cycle. So real estate has been consistently a 7-year cycle, and
Except
we
the
are
last 2 cycles.
well. The last cycle was 7 as well, almost to the day. It was, some people actually even call it a Shemitah, which
Oh,
is
you're
this.
right. You're right.
Mhm.
Actually, thank
Yeah,
you. Yeah.
2001.
1 to 2008. You're absolutely
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
and then, but now we're kind of at a 10-year, kind of at the 10-year mark, and I think that we're seeing a lot of things that were similar, like direct mail, and everybody's focusing on going after off-market deals. So it's become more competitive. A lot of the late night TV commercial guys, are back. I go work out at the gym, and I see both Dean Graciosi and I see Than Merrill up on the screen from Fortune Builders, and
Yeah.
sign of the times, right? So I just think this is a time to be watchful, and the market is going to turn. And anybody that doesn't think so, I think that they have a bit of happy years. So
Well,
being
we've already started to see it. I mean, we're
absolutely.
seeing, especially here in the Bay Area. So I'm in San Jose. Where exactly are you?
I'm in Danville. I'm right up the street from you.
Nice. I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. I don't often get to talk to locals. This is awesome. But anyways, I mean, even here, days on market has gone way up. Prices are stable, but we're not getting multiple offers. They're not getting full bids. I mean, we've already seen it starting to turn, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure. But there's a lot of money to be made. I just think that those people that are doing heavy rehabs could get stuck. So I
yes.
think, Warren Buffett, I was actually at his shareholder meeting, and remember, he has Berkshire Hathaway. Warren Buffett,
Yeah.
one of the wealthiest guys, if not the wealthiest guy in the world. But he said, a true real estate investor is somebody that has money, and they invest and they hold for the long haul,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's not necessarily people who are wholesaling, fixing and flipping, rehabbing, which is also awesome, but
It's not investing.
it's not investing. It's more of being a business operator,
That's
right?
right.
And
Right.
I always say, if you're a CEO, all businesses need a CEO. And if the CEO is doing $10 an hour work, you're going to have a $10 bank account. So it's really focusing on the money-making opportunities. But Warren Buffett said his keys to success is buy low, sell high, don't lose investor money, and follow the local laws. right? The local and state and federal laws. And I think there's so much wisdom. I see a lot of people, I've been coaching thousands of people for years around realestateinvestor.com. And I see a lot of people they're taking profits. So I've got some people in Denver, as an example, a very saturated market, and they're rehabbing, right? They're buying, they're using investor money for break even. So they're not even making any profit. They're just trying to keep their teams afloat and busy. And I think that's a recipe for disaster. And so I think a lot of the people right now are they're buying, creatively. So they may be getting some owner financing. They may be wholesaling, because this is still a very hot market to wholesale with very little risk. And then when they're actually buying and holding, they're either doing it in more linear markets, or they're doing it where the numbers really make sense. I think this is a time to do it right.
Mm-hmm.
And those people that are doing it right will survive and thrive in this changing market.
Got it. Do you mind telling me, you said you're in 4 markets. Is that 4 different cash flow strategies, or is it 4 different real estate markets? Could you clarify that?
Yeah. So I'm typically, I like working a couple of counties outside of the Metroplex. So I'm actually not even in the Bay Area. Santa Cruz South is where I'm at, Central Valley of California. And what I found is those are markets that are producing really, really well for me. I'm also in Salt Lake City. And primarily we're wholesaling. I would say that 80% of what we're doing there is wholesaling, because it's the profits are great. We're finding properties that are value add properties. So we've got cash buyers that are picking them up because the market's hot. I'm getting some owner financing, where some of the sellers are carrying back paper at low interest rates, and then we're typically holding those. And then I'm also lending. Like, I'm lending right in your town, as an example.
Yay!
So
we need to talk about that.
Yeah. So I love lending, first position money, and so those are my 3 strategies. So the cash now is my wholesaling business,
Mm-hmm.
where we're typically, in California, we'll be making an average of like $22,000 to $25,000 per deal. And then on the cash flow is typically lending, and then, deals where we're owner financing and renting those back, some that will turn into Airbnb and VRBOs. And then cash later are things where we're really, like an owner finance, where we're getting super low, interest, and we're paying down notes over the long haul. So in fact, Paso Tiempo, you know where that's at, right? Up in
I do.
I picked up a property there. I had owner financing, and that property is an $800,000 deal, payout over 22 years. So that would have probably been a $20,000 to $30,000 flip, but the way we ended up doing it is it's a long cash flow play. And so anyway, and I can share a little bit more in your private group when we go a little bit deeper.
An extra. I would love that.
Yeah.
That sounds great. These are all really, especially because it's in my hometown. My listeners may not be super interested, but I am. Yeah. And there are a lot of people that are listening that are in these really saturated markets or these really expensive markets. I talk about it all the time. But there aren't many of my guests that can really have that same conversation with me. So I think this will be delightful for the ladies that are listening. They're like, yeah, but what do you do in my market type of thing? Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'm talking a little bit about the downturn. I don't want that to be doom and gloom. I just think that it's what we should all be talking about. I'm involved in a lot of masterminds, which is another thing I recommend for a lot of us to be involved, interacting with people, small groups, in a masterminding format. But a lot of us are having this conversation of what to be doing now with the foresight of the market, of either being a correction or a downturn, and what that looks like. And I'm super positive about it. I think it's a great thing. In fact, a lot of us are looking forward to a slowdown in the market.
I am too. And I don't think any cycle in the market is doom and gloom.
No.
We have opportunity everywhere, no matter what's going on, but you just have to be aware of what those opportunities are, how to take advantage of them, and where you are in the cycle. So, there's no bad piece of the cycle. It's just, what are you going to do with it, right?
That's right.
So I'm totally with you on that. You have this concept of all leads suck. Talk to me a little bit about that in your
Yeah.
business.
Yeah. Let me back up. So, because I think this is so important. Most of the deal flow right now, where most of the investors are targeting, or people that are looking for consistent, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5 deals a month, is coming from off market. So we're actually going direct to the seller. We're bypassing the agent, and so the best formulas for that we're seeing is direct mail. It is outbound text messaging. So being able to buy a list. This is something that we do for our members. Skip tracing that list and then doing outbound text messaging that under compliance, because you want to stay compliant with the FCC. Cold calling, and then RVM, and then another one that's called PCSOI, which is building your long-term sphere of influence and relationships. So, but it's targeting off market, and I see a lot of people that come to me, and they're looking for a motivated seller, right? They're looking for a motivated seller, and the reality is that motivated seller really doesn't exist. What we're really looking for is a reasonable seller. And because when you're talking to a seller, I've got a great, I'm delivering a sales course specifically around this. It's a certification course that I'm building out right now. But I have a price curve and the motivation curve. And what happens is, a lot of people are talking to sellers and they're just not ready. They're not ready to sell yet. It takes follow-up. And what we're finding is that those people that are, and there's number one, there's a live conversation that has to be had with the seller. And a lot of people, they'll see leads and they'll be like, oh, this seller isn't motivated. They've never even talked to them. So the motivation level happens over a period of time. On average, it's actually between 5 and 12 interactions with the seller. And most people, in fact, there's a national statistic, less than 10% of any real estate investor or agent will ever follow up more than twice. Okay. And so the reason I say all leads suck is it's more of a mindset, because a lot of us and people that I see, they're like what I would consider 3 feet from gold. They're so close, but they're looking at a lead and it's like, oh, this seller isn't motivated. It's like, no, you know what? They're just not ready. And so usually a seller that's not ready, they want a higher price. So the more motivated they are, the more time that's gone by, the more the lower the price goes by or goes down. And so I just encourage people, especially if they're going after, say, direct mail and they're sending out direct mail, the key is in the follow-up. The key is in consistent follow-up, text message, and phone calls. And one of the most profitable roles for hiring or having a third party like us is somebody that can actually be calling those people and texting them all day long. And I see a lot of people that don't do that.
So I just want to stop here.
Mm-hmm.
This is so important, what you just said. So there are a lot of ladies that have probably tried, ladies that are listening to me that have tried different strategies, and that didn't work, and that didn't work, and that didn't work. So what I really want people to do is find whatever that strategy is that makes their heart sing and get really, really good at it, right? And you've got these 3 pieces. There's the now, the cash flow, and the later, and you're going to add those in as you get better, right? I actually started with the later because I didn't need the now or the cash flow. And now I'm moving back, right? Because now I need the cash flow. So it goes in whatever order works for your life and what your needs are, right? Get really good and then move to the next thing. The problem is that so much of the time we pick something because it sounds really, really good. It makes our heart sing when we think about it. And then we try it and oops, it didn't work. And there's a lot of reasons that it didn't work. First of all, you're not awesome at it yet. There's a learning curve and everything, right? But the biggest issue is follow-up. And I will admit, this is a big issue with me too, because if I get a couple of no's, I feel bad about calling again. And I don't know if this is true for men as much as it is for women, but I know as women, we really, really, really don't want to be rejected. We want to be liked. It's sort of part of our makeup, right? And so it's hard to keep making those phone calls. So this is so valuable and so important, Gary, because if you can hire somebody to take care of that piece that doesn't make your heart sing, you can have a successful business in the way that you want it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And there is a sale that happens. Even in a marriage, I always say there is a sale and there's a customer.
Mm-hmm.
There's always, in any deal, there's a sale and then there's a customer. And I say marriage because if you didn't know that there was a sale, it probably means that you were the one that got sold, right?
I
But
think it happens both ways, actually.
I know. My wife and I, we just celebrated our 25th anniversary. It was great. But we joke
You and
about
I are
that.
like twins. My husband and I just did we did a renewal of our vows for our 25th in Maui. Like, so amazing.
Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. So, so here's from a sale perspective. Um, so the true sales does not start until there's been a rejection or a no. Okay. So the sale doesn't actually happen. And this is every Fortune 1000 company that's in America or anywhere else. This is standard training. It's not something I've created. But the sale actually starts when there's a no or there's a rejection. And the biggest reason that people, especially men, by the way, even more than women, the biggest reason that people are not on the phone is a fear of rejection.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is something to overcome. There is a live human interaction. And here's what's interesting. What's interesting is that people buy or sell to people that they like, trust, and respect. Rule number one of sales, right? First, they sell to their friends. Second, they sell to their friends. Third, they sell to their friends. You get it.
Mm-hmm.
And so just getting on the phone and interacting and being okay, because, it's an emotional decision. This selling a house is a big deal. Now, you could go directly and work with an agent, and an agent has done all this work, right? They're the ones that are doing all the sales work and talking and doing the listing. But if we're going direct to the seller, there is a relationship that has to be built. And so what I teach people that I think is so important is take the pressure off. It's just a conversation. They're probably not motivated. That's why I say all leads suck until you actually get on the phone and talk to the seller, and then realize it's not all about making the offer on the first phone call. It might take 4, 5, 6, 7 phone conversations. I just did this on stage. I call it the State of the Union on real estate business, and that is that everybody's focused on finding these motivated leads or the perfect words to convert sellers. And I actually said you want to establish value more than anything. Is what problem do they have, and how can you solve it? And that usually comes at a discount. You're able to make a lot of money. I'll give you a perfect example. One of the worst calls I ever had was in Morgan Hill, right down the street from you. It was a very angry seller. And some of the angriest sellers, by the way, are some of the most profitable. And so he was a fireman and called and left a really nasty message. And so I called him back and he goes, "Who is this?" And I said, "I'm probably the last person on the planet you want to hear from." I said, "I'm the guy that sent you the postcard." And he yelled and screamed. And I just said, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." And then I asked him, I said, "You don't know me, but how would you have recommended that I reach out and get in contact with you? Because I think I actually have something that you may be interested in." Well, anyway, I made $240,000 buying 2 properties from him. It turned out that his wife was in jail for embezzlement, and they had $1 million lien against 2 properties. And so he wasn't angry at me, right? He was angry with the situation. And so you just have to get on the phone and talk with these people. I'll give you a couple of other things. I don't want to go into too much crazy detail. We'll leave it for the other group. But just assume, this is the national average, 45 leads will average into 1 deal. So a lot of people don't know that number. It's super important, because if you knew that you have 45 leads, and if you just averaged to follow up with each of them 5 to 12 times, and you're going to close a deal that could be a $20,000 or $100,000 deal, if you look at the amount of money for dialing the phone, it's a lot of money every time that you dial the phone, whether the seller answers or not. And so somebody needs to do that work. And at the end of the day, if we're going after off-market deals, you can do all the courses and you can have all the systems and you can be in all the mastermind groups and real estate clubs. But if you're not on the phone, having a live interaction with the seller, there's no profit to be made. And so that's more important, more than anything else. So for us as a company, people come to us because, number one, we get them in front of those leads, and we're generating those leads typically off of direct mail or cold calling. And then we're following up and calling and having a 6 to 8 minute conversation to find out, okay, of those leads, which are the ones that are ready and more motivated today? And so instead of you having to do hundreds and hundreds of calls, you're only talking to maybe 15 or 20 people a month that are the truly qualified ones, if that makes sense.
It does make sense.
This is just classic sales. And if you get that right, you've got a thriving business. I know one of our members, he did $2.3 million just in flips last year. Half of it came off of direct mail, and a little less than half came off of cold calling. And he's in Indianapolis. Young kid, I think he's like 27 or 28, and started just 3 years ago in the business. So there's a lot of money to be made if you get the marketing and then the phone work kind of dialed in.
So talk to me specifically about REIvault. Like who would be the best kind of member for you? Give you an idea of sort of costs, what does that look like for an investor?
Yeah, great question. So who's a good fit? People that have actually been doing this business with some success. We're probably not best for people that are brand new.
Okay.
And so somebody that's closed a handful of deals at least, and they're really looking to scale it up. And the reason I say that is because when they come to us, somebody comes to us, they're looking for more consistency versus just getting their first deal or two across the goal line. If you need help with your first deal or two, that's probably a coach, of having somebody to coach you. Mm-hmm. And we're not a coaching platform. We're more of a results-oriented company. It's an agency model. So you're plugging into our staff. So I have a team of over 110 people, and I have a group of people that will work to identify what we think is going to be the best marketing for you. Then we'll execute the marketing, and then we're going to take our phone team and then work those leads. And so it's about the cost of you hiring one full-time overseas person. So it works out to like if you were hiring a $12 to $13, $14 an hour person full-time, that's what you'd be paying to us. But that would include marketing and doing the phone work. And then on top of that, there's a marketing budget. So if you're in California, as an example, you're going to be spending a lot more money on marketing than if you were in the central part of the country. And so what we do is we help our members. Somebody will tell us they want to buy 3 houses a month, or they want to buy 10 houses a month. And we'll say, okay, you're in Wisconsin. Let's say or we got Eric Hatch, large agent, very well-known real estate agent, and they're also buying houses. I think he told me that we got him in front of 127 appointments, and he closed 30 houses and 27 listings is what he did. So we basically came up with a budget and said, okay, we think your cost per deal, right? How much money you're going to have to spend to get enough leads to close one deal. And we predicted that at about $1,500 a deal. And actually it was super conservative because he was way, way below that on cost. So then we'll come up with a budget, and then we'll execute and basically do all the marketing for that, and then schedule, call the leads and schedule appointments. Does that make sense? So an average member would be spending about $2,500 a month to tap into our team. A lot of people say it's like having the equivalent team of 40 people for the cost of one resource. And so they'll pay a flat monthly membership fee plus whatever their marketing spend is that can go up or down. I have some people with us that are spending $60, $70, $80,000 a month in marketing, and still working to scale it up from there.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. So there's a huge range, it sounds like, of people that you can work with. Someone that's got a $60,000 spend, what would you say a lower spend might be, like a beginner, someone who's starting with you?
Yeah, it's really market dependent. So
Okay.
if you're in California, I don't think you should be spending less than $5,000 or $6,000 a month in marketing.
Okay.
And that's probably to get you one deal. California is extremely competitive. It's basically, and we're very predictive. We've done over 38 million pieces of direct mail. We've tracked every response rate. So I know what we mail to get how many calls, right? If you're in the center part of the country, it could be closer to maybe $1,500 to $1,700 a deal. If you're in Florida, you're probably closer to $2,800, $2,400 to $2,800 a deal.
Okay.
So usually what will happen is somebody will sign up with us. It's a fast process. It's about 7 days that we're onboarding them. We build a marketing plan that we both agree to, and then we start. And then about 10 days total from the time that they sign up, we're generating leads for them. And what we do is we usually tell somebody, hey, why don't we start with maybe a $3,000 or $4,000 budget? Could be less, could be more. And then let's get on a phone in a month. After we start this, we'll do an account review and look how things are going and make any changes, and then either scale up or what have you. And so a very typical member will be somebody like, we've got Javier in North Carolina, and he started a couple of years ago, and I think he's doing like a $30,000 a month budget. He's got very much a 7-figure business, and started with no deals in 2018. And so,
what do you mean he started with no deals? Like he hadn't done anything yet?
He had done a couple of deals. He'd done a couple of deals, but there was no consistency. And so when he came in, and also he didn't have a large marketing budget. He tells his story that in 2017 he had to borrow money from his son because they actually ran out of cash. And so he didn't have a lot of cash flow and operating capital to run his business. And so we got him started. He closed a couple of deals, and then he started scaling from there. And I think he's in 5 markets. He's got a large team now with a 7-figure flipping business.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, so cool. Well, we've got a lot that we're going to talk about in the extra portion of the show, right? So we're going to do some deep dives on some things like, really, what do the numbers look like? What are some big secrets on how to get the deals? What to do in these larger markets, right? And your favorite mailing lists and strategy. So we are going to talk about that stuff in the extra and some other stuff that's come up. I know that you give a huge amount of information. So we'll talk about all of that in the extra portion of the show. But for now, could you tell everybody how they can get in touch with you?
Sure. I think the best way is to go to REIvault.com, REIvault.com. There is a see if I qualify button, and it'll actually walk you through. You can actually schedule an appointment with one of us, probably Julia Jordan. She lives in Dallas, and her and I have been working together for years. She's actually bought and sold herself a couple of 100 houses.
Wow.
And so you'd have a live phone conversation with her at REIvault.com. I do have a giveaway that I'll give to everybody. We actually just finished this, and it's really our direct mail secrets of really everything I talked about today, but probably even more granular. And here's the things to really implement to make direct mail work. And you can go out to realestaiteinvestor.com/direct mail secrets. And so that's a free guide that we just put out. I'm really pleased with how it's working. I've had a lot of people that have provided great feedback on that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And thank you very much for that. And I will actually put those links in the show notes, ladies, so you can definitely plug into Gary's gift and also see what if this might be something that would work for you, which it sounds like it could for a lot of my listeners.
Yeah, and I'm always posting videos. I have a podcast. I'm always interviewing interesting people on building culture and building teams and hiring people, all that stuff. And that's realestateinvestor.com huddle podcast. And then I'm on
Mm-hmm.
Instagram and I'm always posting like my morning minute, my inspirational tip for entrepreneurs. And so you'll see me there as well.
Nice. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So, are you ready for our 3
Let's
rapid fire
let's
questions?
do it.
Okay. So, Gary, tell us one strategy on getting started in real estate investing.
Yeah, one strategy. I think that the best strategy, especially if you don't have a lot of money, is wholesaling. Wholesaling is a very simple model for finding properties that have value. You're buying them under market with cash. It's a single offer, and then you're finding a cash buyer that wants to buy that property at a higher price, and you're signing what's called an assignment contract. And people make millions of dollars doing that. It's a very easy model, very little risk. I think that's a great strategy. It's something I'm doing. I know that you do a little of it. If you have money, and if you have money, I think a great model I like is what's called the turnkey model, and what some of the linear markets. I do this as well. I take some of my money and I provide it with a couple of turnkey providers where they actually are finding the properties that are producing nice results, but they handle all of the renovation and the property management. And so they find a Memphis Invest as an example of that business model, that where they're in Memphis. I love the Omaha market. I love the Kansas market. I love Memphis. Those are the linear markets. But when I say linear, typically they don't have huge spikes in up and down. Like Omaha, Nebraska had less than a 6% drop during the recession in 2008. So I like those because they're nice cash flowing markets. And, as I see the downturn happening, I also see I see massive inflation down the road, right? That they're printing more money. The Federal Reserve, we actually can't even make our debt. 2022, the United States cannot make its debt payments. So the only thing, they got 8 or 9 triggers, but one is inflation. If we're in an inflationary market, holding assets in real estate is an incredible thing. So I think all of us and all the listeners, we should all be holding real estate for the long haul.
I love that.
Hmm.
Thank you for that. And then what would you say is one daily practice that you do that contributes to your personal success?
Yeah. I was a huge workaholic. I think it's very easy to get stuck in the weeds in this business. So one thing I do is what I call my 5-10-3 rule. Because as a CEO, as an entrepreneur running a business, which is what I'm doing, and many of us are, I think we have to be CEOs in our business. And so I wake up at 5 in the morning. I push out my start day to 10. That gives me 5 hours of personal time. I journal, I read scripture, I work out. So that gives me 5 hours, and I plan my one thing. So what's the one thing that I'm going to do today to move the marker? And then the 3, 5, 10, and then the 3 are the 3 hours that I'm actually going to work in the business as a CEO.
Hmm.
And I do that. That's typically, I'm usually looking at, when I only have 3 hours, it means I've got to use my time really wisely.
Mm-hmm.
And it's usually, raising money, reaching out to other investors that I've raised money from on deals. It might be closing a bigger deal. It might be reaching out to a contact or working with a staff person for me. And so that's really changed my life. There's a book called Traction that's real popular in our business. I follow Traction. It's an operating model for a lot of us, because I think a lot of people we get stuck, even though we might have professional degrees. It's very easy to be doing the $10 an hour work and focused on the wrong money making activities. So I'm very, very focused with my time, and I'd recommend other people do that. because it's a trap. It's really easy to get trapped and then chasing shiny objects. There's not a lot of money to be made, reading emails and watching social media and courses and things like that.
Yeah, I love that. And actually, what is one strategy on being successful in real estate investing?
Persistence and tenacity. I think in terms of uh, everybody should be a referral for you. That's probably the biggest one for me. Is everybody that I talk to is some part of their people that I'm raising money from. I always say when you're raising money, which we should always be raising money, every one of us, and you want to raise money when you don't need it, and you never have to ask for the money. So I tell people what I do, and people immediately come back saying, "Gosh, could you tell me a little bit more?" And I get a lot of people that will come in and participate with me on deals. And so I think all of us should be raising money. That's all businesses do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you. Perfect. Well, good. So I'm really looking forward to the extra portion of the show, but thank you so much for what you've shared so far, Gary. This has been amazing.
Awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been great.
Perfect. Good. Yay.
Yeah.
And ladies, if you are subscribed to Extra, please stay tuned. We've got more coming for you. If you're not subscribed but would like to be and you want to get all this additional juicy information, just go to realestateinvestingforwomenextra.com and you can get subscribed there. If you're leaving us now, thank you so much for joining Gary and I for this portion of the show. I look forward to seeing you next time. And until then, remember, goals without action are just dreams. So get out there, take action, and create the life your heart deeply desires. I'll see you next time. I hope you enjoyed today's show. If you'd like to download my favorite investing strategy, just go to blissfulinvestor.com. See you next time.